Hey, I'm Fabian from DIY Wood Revival. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this side table. Let's get started.
These came out of a wall somewhere, which explains the nail holes, dings, and very charming layer of dust from the 1980s. But the grain underneath, worth the effort. There's something oddly satisfying about taking a chunky old 4x2 and splitting it down the middle. Almost like woodworking surgery, but instead of saving lives, I'm just making smaller bits of wood, which I'll then glue back together. The Circle of Life, Workshop Edition. Next up, the thicknesser. Basically a very loud way of making sure that my boards are exactly the same size. And yes, the shavings smell incredible. Rimu always does. Shame you can't smell it through the video. With the stock ready, it's time for some layout. I'm making two circles. One will be the base and one will be the top. And each is a lamination of multiple pieces of reclaimed timber. Arranging these is a bit like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, except I get to decide what the picture is. I'm looking for the best grain patterns, making sure the colour tones blend well, and avoiding putting nail holes together in one place, unless I want to call it design. Once I'm happy, I pull out the biscuit joiner. If you've never used them before, it's basically a machine that cuts small slots for these football-shaped bits of compressed wood called biscuits. You glue them in and they help keep your boards aligned during the glue up. They also make you feel pretty professional, or maybe it's just me. Now the messy part, glue up. There's really no elegant way of doing this. Spread the glue, line up the biscuits, squeeze everything together, and apply clamps until you feel like you've gone overboard, and then add a few more clamps just for good luck. Before you even crack open the glue, dry fit everything. It's basically a rehearsal dinner for the clamps. Everyone knows their places and there's no surprises. I keep a damp rag handy to wipe away squeeze out before it sets, which is also a great way to avoid discovering a fossilized blob of glue during finish. Right now, I'm in full panic mode because, surprise surprise, I don't have enough clamps. Of course, the piece is bowing, because why wouldn't it just behave? And as usual, when I need a perfectly sized scrap of wood to help keep everything straight, it's nowhere to be found. So here I am, juggling whatever random bits I can find and hoping it all stays together long enough to dry.
Okay, there's one section glued up. Not sure if that'll be the top or the bottom yet. Decide once I clean them up. See which one looks better. Can't do the other piece yet because we've got two sash clamps. I was hoping to only have to use one on each section, but because there's a bit of a bow and a couple of those pieces, I need to use both of them. But that's fine, I'll just have to glue up the other section, either the top or the base, tomorrow once this one's dried. In the meantime, get started on the pedestal, or the vertical section. Got this piece that I'm going to use for it. It is pretty bowed. I kind of like that. Not quite sure what look I'm going to go for yet, but we'll trim it down to size, clean it up, get rid of all this loose bark and stuff on it, and go from there. Might go for some sort of a curved design or something, but see what happens.
For the stem, I'm using another 2x4. This is the bit that connects the top and the base, and it's going to be offset so that the table can slide underneath the couch arm. I start by trimming it to length with the miter saw, and then I sketch out the curve I want. With the top and the base being these rigid circles, I want something that looks like it's got a natural curve to it, almost like a tree branch or something. Think something slightly elegant but still strong enough to hold a drink without wobbling. The rough cut on the jigsaw gets me close to the shape that I want, but the real shaping happens with the carving disc on the angle grinder. It's loud, messy, and it throws dust everywhere, so make sure you wear that PPE. With power carving, the biggest trick is to let the tool do the work. Don't try and force the cut. Pushing too hard will just dig deep trenches. You'll spend hours sanding it. Once I'm happy with the shape, I run a roundover bit on the router along the edges. This not only makes it look nicer, but it also makes it feel better in the hand. No sharp corners waiting to catch you. I used my biggest roundover bit at the maximum depth to make the piece look less rigid and more natural. Finally, a quick sand with an orbital sander and 120 grit just to take away the last of those tool marks and smooth everything out before the next step. Back to the laminations, time for the other section. Same process as before, but fewer clamps left to use, so I had to get a bit creative with the ones I have left. If you've ever done any woodworking, you know you've never got enough clamps, even if you've got hundreds of them, you'll always run out. By the second glue up, you can really appreciate the design is coming to life. It's less about panic and more about careful adjustments. Fitting the pieces just right so the whole thing feels balanced. The little challenges along the way only make it feel more like your own creation. The next morning it's always a bit of a reveal. Flip on the lights, loosen the clamps, and hope everything stayed exactly where you put it. There's a brief moment where you look, appreciate, and realise the project is really coming together. Now to turn these glued up slabs into actual circles. For that, I'm using a router circle cutting jig that I made in a previous video. There's a link on the screen if you want to see how I built that. The jig lets me swing the router in a perfect arc, cutting the shape cleanly, no guesswork, no trying to trace a bucket lid, just smooth, repeatable circles. Cutting circles with this jig works best on shallow passes. I did 5 total on these pieces, going slightly deeper each time. I always find it funny how much trust we put on a simple jig. A piece of plywood with a screw in it and suddenly you're cutting perfect circles. Once the circles are cut, I ran a chamfer bit around the top edges. It adds a nice shadow line and just gives the whole piece a more refined look. Edges like this remind me that sometimes the smallest details are what really pulls a piece together. It's the difference between something that looks rushed and something that looks intentional. A quick sand with the orbital to make sure everything's perfectly smooth, and then I can see what I'm working with for the next step.
Alright, got them all nice sanded up now. Looking really nice, I'm happy with that. How clean that looks, that Rimu. Beautiful wood. Bit bummed that this is the last of it. I've got one more piece, but can't do much with it. But here's what it is, I have to track down some more. To fill in all these damages, I'm going to use CA glue, black CA glue. I mean, you can try and hide these nail holes and cracks and whatnot, but I mean, there's no point. I like the fact that it is reclaimed wood out of a house, you know, like there's no point trying to hide that. So I'll fill that in with black CA glue, make all those damages and whatnot pop and look really nice. And we'll stick it together, we're about done. Should end up looking something like that, roughly.
These boards have some battle scars from their previous life in a war, so I'm filling the worst of them with black CA glue. It makes the cracks stand out instead of trying to hide them. A little nod to where the wood came from. This CA glue is great. Once you throw the accelerator on it, it dries within a couple of minutes and you can sand it straight away. And the black pairs perfectly with the rich colour of the Rimu once I finish it. Once cured, a light sand levels the CA glue out with the surface.
Alright, got them sanded up nice. It looks real good. So that black CA glue came up nice as. One thing I did forget to account for is the biscuits. You see the biscuits on the corners. Not that noticeable, but I mean, there's nothing I can do about it now. Kind of like it. Not too bad, it'll be right. I mean, I'll know it's there, but if you're not looking for it, you won't notice it. Next, I'm going to attach together. I use a couple of dowels on each end of the stem to attach that on there, then that there. Almost done. Should be sweet as, and then that gives it enough space to slide underneath the base of the couch. And that's a little side table. Ready to go.
To attach the stem to the base and the top, I'm using dowels. I mark the base, drill the holes, and then use these little stainless steel markers. Drop them in the dowel holes, press the other piece into place, and it leaves a perfect mark where to drill.
Alright, so that goes in there. That goes on there. And we got one there. And that sits there. Beauty. Now just going to make sure when I glue it all together, it's all aligned correctly and it's level. Alright, let's have a go.
This is the big one. Top, stem and base all coming together. Because of the stem offset, I couldn't just clamp together like a normal person. Oh no, this required me clamping it to the workbench and adding weights to the front edge, like one of those school projects where you build a bridge and see how much weight it can hold. Every glue up I forget something. This time I forgot to open my sash lamp all the way, so you can see me struggling trying to open it with one hand and hold everything together with the other. The aim here is to get it perfectly level when the glue cures, because once it's dry, that's it. You either nailed it, or you've just made a very fancy leaning table.
Bang on. It would be nice to have another clamp running there, but it's just gonna, nothing there, it's gonna squeeze it too much. So I'll leave it like that. Come back tomorrow and finish it off. That was easier than I thought. I thought there was going to be a nightmare to clamp up. Alright, let's give this fella a test home. Bit of squeeze out there, I'll clean that up with the old chisel there. Should be alright. Hopefully. So as it stands, currently level. Take those off, it won't be. Get that out of the way. Actually, no, it's not level there. It's a touch high, but once I hit this off, it should be right. Hopefully. That's not bad actually. It's pretty level. Nice as. Probably can't see that, but spot on. Sweet as. Alright, give it one last touch up with the sander. Just clean up all those glue marks. Scratch that bit of glue out with the chisel. Chuck some oil on it, we're looking good. I really like that actually. To be honest, I wasn't sold on the shape of the stem there. I almost went for a different design after I sanded it up. I was like, don't know about it, but I actually quite like that. It's different.
Once the glue's dry, I used a sharp chisel to clean up the joints.
Alright, last step. Bit of Danish oil, couple of coats. It's looking pretty slick. Really like the way this Danish oil brings out that rich colour of the Rimu, so I use it on everything pretty much. That's Rimu anyway. It's really nice. Chuck a couple of coats on, we're good to go.
This is the part where that grain and colour of the Rimu really comes alive. From old wall studs to a finished piece of furniture. Not bad for a few bits of scrap timber. So this is the final piece. Could it be better? Sure. Did I cut a few corners? Probably. But at the end of the day it works, it looks alright, and that's enough for me. Sometimes that's all you can ask for.
Alright, it's all done. Looks really good and functionally works perfectly. It slots under the couch just there, and then the arm just skims the bottom of the top, so that's perfect. Have my coffee there without spilling it. Ideal. Anyways, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more DIY wood revival content. Thanks for watching.